Hey everybody, it's Richard from the Homeschool Freedom Club, and today I've got Fiona Sim with me in the latest of the interviews that I've been doing about how to earn and home educate. So, welcome, Fiona. Thanks ever so much for coming to join me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I know it's lovely to see you, and just wanted to find out a little bit more about you. So, you live in Scotland, you home educate, but that's about as much as I know. So, fill us in with some details.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I when my youngest daughter was born, we decided pretty quickly that we wanted to home educate. I think she was about 9 months old. Well, I decided a lot sooner than that, and I mentioned it to my husband, and he actually laughed at me and said it was the stupidest idea he'd ever heard of. And I gave him all of my points as to why I thought it was a good idea, and I just left him to sit with it because he likes to sit with things for a while and he'll mull it over and stuff. And a few months later, he'd been outside. He's from Lithuania. His family's from Lithuania. He'd been outside speaking to his mum on the phone, and I obviously had no idea what they were talking about because I can't speak Lithuanian. And he'd come back in, and I'd said, "Oh, what were you talking about with your mum?" And he was like, "Oh, I was just talking about how we're not going to send her to school." And I was like, "You forgot to tell me that you decided that. Like, I'm fine with it, but you didn't mention it." Um, and so yeah, so we decided from there that we would home ed.
Yeah.
My eldest is now 5, so we're officially home educating now, as they say, because she should have started school this year. And my youngest is 2. I have 2 girls, and I I say officially with bunny ears because we don't follow any structure or anything. I'm reluctant for a label because I feel like a label, not for anyone else, but just for me, like it puts pressure on me to like if for example I labeled myself as an unschooler, but my daughter wanted to do a workbook, my brain would be like, no, no, it doesn't compute, even though I know it's fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
so we just do what we do. We just live our lives. And a lot of people ask us like how you're getting on, like what are you doing? And it's hard for me to answer because it's just our lifestyle. Like our lifestyle is our home education, if you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
blended in one. It's not a separate entity. And yeah, so we just live. And yeah, the reason I started the business I've started is because I want to be able to meld it all in together. So I had looked for jobs from home and stuff, and nothing quite fitted, and nothing was flexible and stuff like that. Or it was flexible at being at home, but it wasn't necessarily flexible in hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just like needed something to fit in because their life is very much like free flowing type thing,
Hmm.
and I fit in where I need to. And I just yeah, the school thing for me, like they don't. It's hard to word it. Like I don't want them to be going into school and sitting at a desk all day. Like they like to go outside when they want to go outside. They like to be inside when they want to be inside. They like to eat when they're hungry. They like to go to the toilet when they need the toilet. Like, and I just want to facilitate that for them
Yeah.
and let them explore and find things out for themselves type thing.
Yeah. No, I love what you're saying there because, I mean, we're like you. I mean, we nominally we unschool. I think of us as unschoolers, but the kids they have lessons for things that we don't know how to teach them, on
Yeah.
in real life, and they sit down. I mean, my daughter loves, she's learning her letters. She's 6, so and
Yeah.
she sits down and she loves workbooks where she can trace the letters and things like that. So it's horses for courses, and the idea is that we give them the education that they enjoy, or that we facilitate for them rather. And it sounds like you think of yourselves in the same way. You're not teaching them; you're facilitating and letting them follow what they want to do.
Absolutely. Like I do not know everything they want to know, not by a long stretch of the imagination, but I do know how to
Yeah,
find out what they want to know, and I
yeah,
know how to help them find out how they want to know. And for me, it's more about I want to teach them how to learn rather than teach them
yes,
stuff. Like I don't want them to
yeah,
be taught things that they should know. I want them to learn how to learn it on their own, if that makes sense. Like I want, if they want to know it, they would figure out how to find out. And obviously, I'm just there to facilitate that journey for them.
yeah, and of course that that takes shape over time, doesn't it? And it will change over time as well, and
Definitely.
their needs will change. I think that's what's so great about what we do. It's just that your kids they get to follow their passions and they get to learn what they really enjoy, as you say, rather than being sat at a desk and told what to do. They've got free reign. So no, I love that approach to it. And it's not for everybody, and all kids are different. Some like structure, some don't. I mean, my two aren't particularly structured. So, for them to be sat at a desk would not suit them at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was the point I was going to make is even my two children themselves from the same mother, the same family, they are totally different. Like
Yeah,
they learn in totally different ways. And if if they're in a class full of 30, 20, 30, however many children are in a class these
yeah,
days, like the teacher, it's not their fault. They just have absolutely no way to do it individually for each child. So if I have the opportunity to do it individually for each child, then I'm going to take it
yeah,
because I can.
yeah, absolutely. So you you're saying you're working, you're sort of you've set up a business. Can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing? Because obviously you've got your husband, presumably he's working and bringing in some income and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Doing
yeah. So
a lot of
at the
the
moment,
market
I'm
stuff.
at the very beginning stages of my business. I'm just building at the moment. Building hard. My husband, he's a software developer, and we at the moment he has an income and we're topped up by the benefit system in the UK, which my
Yeah,
aim is to not be, and I'm working towards that. And so yeah, so the reason I said is I kind of pivoted a bit since I started. I started at sort of maybe Marchish time this year, just like thinking about starting a business like learning because I didn't really. I've tried over the years to start all sorts of different things, but the two things were a problem is that I didn't really know what I was doing at all, and I also didn't. I wasn't in the right mindset to be doing it. I wasn't like I didn't have myself like mindset is something I talk about as well. It's just that I wasn't in the right position. I was just, it's hard looking back now because I can see it, but at the time I didn't see it at all. It was just everything was failing, and I was like, oh, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. And now I know it was all coming from me. I was essentially blocking it by accident. But but yeah, so it's taken time and it's growing and it's getting bigger and it's good. But I've over this time I've really niched down into what I'm good at and what I can help with. And that is the juggling part. So the strategies, the daily practicalities of actually fitting in doing work with having children. Like I'm a planner, I love to plan. I'm quite a logical thinker, and so for me, I while I've been doing all this, I have found my own strategies and I've found my own ways, and I've found out what works for me to get time to work and to get time to like majority of the time I do a large chunk of work when they're in bed in the evening because they go to
yeah,
bed around 7ish, and I know a lot of people, some people like to get up early and do work. At the moment, I would like to do that, but at the moment, I kind of wake up around 6 and then I just stay very, very still in the bed in case I wake anybody else up.
yeah,
But yeah, so I do a chunk in the evening and then I also do lots of little bits throughout the day. So I've got what I call my 10-minute to-do list. So I have my to-do list and it's split into two columns, and one column is things that are going to take like a substantial amount of time. And the other
yeah,
side is things that can be done in 10 minutes or less. So that when the children are off and they're playing or they're doing whatever they do at the moment, they play mums and babies, like basically their whole life is a game of
yeah,
mums and babies. And when they're like really into that, and I know I've got some time, I know it won't be long, but I can just take something off that list and be like, right, that can be done now, whether it's
yeah,
sending an email or looking for things to chat on or like do you know what I mean, like just quick
yeah,
fire things. And so that's where like I'm good at finding little pockets of time, and that's where I want to like help other people to like I've done a framework and it's all like sorry I'm kind of rambling because
No, no, no.
it's
Go
just
for it.
I'll go through my framework actually because it's just quite a good way of like setting it all out.
Yeah,
So
because I was just going to say, I mean, this is one of the things that people really. It's like, how am I supposed to do anything with one, two, three, four young kids at home? And it's sort of one of the big barriers I think to people home educating. They think they can't. They just think they can't do it. They think they can't get organised enough. They think they're not going to have the time. They think they can't afford to, and that there's no way I'm going to be able to run a business and have young children at home. And yet, as you're sort of saying here, it is possible, but you just need to organise it right. So
yeah. And that was exactly my mindset when I was trying all those other businesses before. I was in the mindset like this isn't going to work. Like I don't physically have the time to do it.
yeah,
And once I kind of started thinking about it and changing the way I was thinking to like I can do it and I can find time and I can do things in small amounts of time, like tiny little steps, and all these tiny little steps will add up to big
yeah,
progress. That was when I really started to see that it was possible. And the more I do it, And the more tiny little things I can get done and the more like tiny little wins I can get, the more confident I feel and the more I'm able to like do it. And also like one of the things I talk about a lot is getting comfortable with interruptions. Like if you know your children are going to be with you all day, you
Yeah.
need to be in the mindset that you are going to be interrupted. You can't, like I used to get really frustrated when they interrupted me and it would end up in an argument and no one would be happy. I'd be frustrated. I couldn't go back to what I was doing. But like, and still, it does still happen. I'm not going to lie and tell you that I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it definitely happens quite often. But like, if I sit down to a task and I really prepare myself to be like, I know I'm going to be interrupted, or even if before I sit down to the task, I know they're going to ask me for something to eat. I know they're going to ask me for something to drink. So if I just put that on the table, so when they ask me, I can be like, yes, through there, go get it.
Yeah.
It just it just cuts out some of the frustration and
Yeah.
it
That's a
cuts
really
out
great
some of
idea.
the annoyance and you're ready to do whatever you and you can go back to it quite easily because you've not got all wound up about it. But
Yeah.
that's one thing is like being comfortable that they're going to interrupt you
Yeah.
is really important for
And
me.
it is an interesting change of mindset, because, isn't it? It's instead of using your children as an excuse not to do something, you use them as the reason to do it. Honestly, I'm doing
Absolutely.
this to be with them, to make sure they can be at home. So that's a really big shift, I think, as well, for a lot of people.
Yeah. And another one of the reasons that I started specifically an online business is because like I said, my husband is from Lithuania and
Yeah,
my children at the moment, we go there once a year for a week. And
yeah,
as much as my husband tries to teach them the language, he works and he studies with Open Uni. So he doesn't have, like, he
right.
has very little time to actually speak his language to them all the time. And what little time he does have is not enough for it to really, I
Yeah,
mean, they will take some of it in, but they're not like, they can't speak to their grandparents, for example, because
yeah,
speak
yeah,
English and they speak Lithuanian. So we want to be able to spend like significant chunks of time, like a month, 2 months at a time in Lithuania, so they can really like be in the culture, be in the language, and like be with their family because they're really close to my family. We live in the same town, but they are close to the other to my husband's family too, but it's completely different.
yeah,
And we want them to be able to do that, and we want us to be able to do that, and we also want to be able to travel. Like we want to see the world. I didn't travel when I was younger, and and for a while, I thought that that was like I would do that when I retired. But now I'm like, no, I'm going to do it now. Like I can do it
yeah,
now and I can take them with me and they can learn as we
yeah.
go. And
That-
yeah, so that's like when I'm doing my business or when I have days when I feel a bit down or a bit like I'm not getting enough done. Like if I really fix on what I'm actually doing it for, like my
yeah,
big fight, let's call it. If I'm fixing on what I actually doing it for, like it's so motivating. Like I can see myself going traveling. I can see myself being in Lithuania. I can see my children speaking another language, and that's what it's all for. So
yeah.
it really drives me and fuels me to keep going.
I mean, we were very fortunate because my wife's from Russia, and so we spent some years in Russia. We spent some years in the UK. We're now in Cyprus, and the kids are both completely bilingual in Russian and
Yeah,
English.
that's
So
amazing.
and we've got Granny over here at the moment from Russia. Actually, Babushka's here, so which is really lovely, and they can talk to her because she speaks some English but not much, but they can both
Hmm.
talk to her in Russian. So I completely understand where that desire is coming from, where you really want them to be able to communicate with their family. It's really really important, and
Yeah,
and we see a lot of mixed couples over here, and so many of them sacrifice one of the languages, and we don't understand why they would do that. And more often than not, if it's an English Russian family, English is the dominant language, and the Russian just isn't bothered with. And I'm like, but that's part of their heritage and their culture, you know?
yeah, and like having lived it and having tried to like from the beginning tried to get them to learn the language, like I can see how easy it is to let it fall to the wayside if you've not got it in the forefront of your mind because
Yeah,
they just speak English every day and it's my language and
yeah,
they just speak it. Sometimes I feel like if it was the other way around and he was speaking English and I was speaking a different language, then
yeah,
it would be perhaps different because they would have me speaking to them predominantly in the different language, and then the
yeah,
rest of their time would be in English, and that might be a bit easier. But because they are like English is dominant in their lives,
yeah,
it's much harder. And I also want to learn as well. Like I'm not very good at languages, but I do want to learn. I want to be able to speak to his family,
yeah.
and I also don't want them to feel left out. I don't want them to feel like we're not making an effort to
Yes,
speak it. And like you said, it's part of their heritage. It's part of them. They are 50% from another country,
yeah,
like whether they live here or not. Like their heritage is in Lithuania as well. And I agree, it's really important to know where you've come from. I don't want them to have to go and do that as an adult and figure out where they've came from and
yeah,
where their family lies over there. Like I want them to know from the beginning just like I knew where all my family came from, even though it's all just Scotland. But like I
Yeah.
knew it shouldn't be any different for them. And if I can give them the opportunity to do that, then I want to.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And you were talking about a framework,
Oh yeah.
through the framework of. Sorry, I distracted you. It's my fault. But
No, no, it's fine.
yeah, we're going to talk through the framework of how you sort of arrange things.
Yeah, so it's just quite a simple way to lay it out. So if it, especially when you feel overwhelmed, even getting started can be really hard work. So I
Yeah,
put the framework together just so it's like a starting point for people to really work from, and you can work on each point as you go. So it's called the START framework. The S is for setting achievable goals. So this is setting your goals that you want and breaking them down into as little as you possibly can get them. Like I like 10-minute chunks. Some things obviously don't go down to 10-minute chunks, but that's I try and start from. That's the ideal because that's where I can get the most done. The T is for time management. So managing your times where you're going to fit in these small chunks or these objectives for your goals. Um, I always have to think in my head how to spell start when I'm doing this. A is for accountability. Like, how are you going to keep yourself accountable to doing the steps that you've set for yourself? Some
yeah,
people like external accountability, so they like to have an accountability buddy or somebody that they're working with to hold them accountable. And other
yeah,
people find it easier to hold themselves accountable without doing anything at all, some people, or
yeah,
by like writing it down. For example, I like to have a daily to-do list. So I don't like a weekly to-do list because number one, it puts me off because there's loads of things on it. And
yeah,
number two, I think, oh, I've got a whole week to do this. So I'll fan it, like I'll just swan around for 3 days doing nothing. And then I'll be like, oh no, I got to do everything. And I'll try and cram it
yeah,
into the last 4 days of the week. So I like a daily one with not very much on it, if I'm honest, because I can always do more if I get to the end of it.
yeah,
But if there's too much on it, it just halts me. So
yeah,
so yeah, accountability, whether that's external or internal. And R is for resetting your mindset. So putting yourself in a position, like I said, when you know you're going to have interruptions. There's so many in mindset. That's obviously just whatever your limiting belief is, like working on really bringing that to a place where you might still feel it, but you can still move forward. And then the T is taking action. So once you've done all those 4 steps, setting goals, the time management, the accountability, the resetting your mindset, like you can do all those as much as you want. But if you don't take action, nothing in your business is going to move forward.
yeah,
So if anything, you've got 4 setting the groundworks and 1 actually doing the thing.
yeah.
And that's just set out nicely for people to use and to it's just I feel like for me everything is less overwhelming if it's in smaller pieces. Even if I know there's a big thing at the end of it,
Yeah,
to break it down, that's just how my brain works and how I like it. And with children, it's what works perfectly for me.
yeah. It's interesting because I mean, I spent over 20 years organizing conferences, so you've got to be very organized. Everything's to a time frame. It's a huge amount to do, but you work in a fairly similar way. And I was very good at that, if I say so myself. But shocking at organising my personal time. Really,
Yeah.
really, really bad. And I don't know if it's just having done that for so long for other people. I just don't want to be bothered, or I'm not really sure.
Yeah, no, I would
But
agree. Like I can fit in business things when I'm doing them and stuff, but like in terms of my actual part, like you would think if I teach things like time management that I wouldn't be late for stuff.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
true. I'm late all the time. Like my personal life is not the same as my business life. Like we
yeah,
just like swan around doing things here and there, being late for stuff. But yeah, as long as in business, when I the part where I have to make the money, I can show up. That's good.
yeah, yeah,
Halfway.
exactly. I think as well, I think also when you live a life where like you haven't got to get the kids to school for 8:30. You haven't got to do this, that, and the other. You've not got endless forms to fill out from the school or preparing. I don't know, getting your kids to do homework or whatever. You do lead a more relaxed lifestyle generally, and it does. I think that also. I'm not making excuses for myself, but it does actually. I think it affects the way that you view time as well. It's a bit more fluid, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. I mean, there's this aside from school itself, the thought for me of being locked into having to do a school run in the morning and do a school run in the evening for
Yeah,
however many weeks in the year, the majority of the weeks in the year, like that is just like I would hate that. Like it would just like I don't know, it's just the thought of it is like being in jail.
Yeah,
Like
no,
having to do that and then having to not being able to take your children on holiday when you want
yeah,
because like I don't know how they can tell you you can't, but apparently they can in England and not in Scotland, but in England they can even fine you for taking children
yeah,
out.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it's just like it's just baffling. I just don't want to be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, none of the fines are legal anyway, so if you chose to fight them, you could quite successfully.
Well,
But
that's good. That's a
but
good thing to know.
yeah, but no, it's crazy, isn't it, that we're in these straitjackets? And I did it for years. I mean, my oldest is 21; she's at uni now, but
Oh
she's
wow.
gone through the school system. So I did the school runs for years and years and years and years. And then you're right, at the time of it, just it feels endless. You know, it feels endless, and the small talk at the school gates. And
Oh.
and just everyone bitching to each other, and just oh god, no.
Like my eldest actually, my eldest and my youngest for tiny while went to nursery. So when they got in Scotland, three you get your free nursery hours, and you can send them to
Yeah,
nursery, for however many 30 hours a week or whatever it is. And my daughter didn't go for that many. She went like when it was the time was coming, and like I knew I wanted to home ed, and I didn't want to send her to nursery, but like I just got caught up in the pressure. I got caught up in the chat from all the other mums and people
yeah,
questioning me. And like she ended up in nursery anyway, and she really enjoyed it. It was a really nice nursery. It was really child led,
yeah,
really fluid. That they can go inside, they can come outside. Doesn't matter if it's raining. Doesn't matter if they have shoes on. Like they just do their thing. So it was good, and it was good for her specifically because she was quite. She just she's I don't know. She's just who she is anyway. But it
yeah.
was good. She thrived in going out and doing that on her own, and and she did do the whole 2 years until she was 5. And my youngest daughter at the beginning, she didn't go for as much as a year actually. She went for a few months for a couple, like a day and a half a week with her sister. And this year, when obviously my eldest came out of nursery, the youngest could have gone back. Like she had the opportunity to go back, and but she refused. She didn't want to go without her sister. She didn't want to
Wow.
go to nursery. She wasn't interested in going to nursery. She didn't
Yeah,
care. It wasn't to her going to nursery wasn't about the actual nursery itself. And she's
yeah,
so social. Like I didn't want to fight it. But even those 2 years of having to go just twice a week to
yeah.
nursery and back was enough to put me off.
It's
Like
a
I'm
bind,
glad she
yeah.
did it and everything. And I'm glad that they had the opportunity to go there. They've made lots of nice friends, but I'm also glad that we're out of it.
Yeah. No, I must admit, I like, our kids are not early risers. They go to bed when they want to, which is usually about the same time as we go to bed.
Oh
And so
well.
consequently, they're not up till sort of nine, half nine, 10.
Oh,
And
I
instead
wish mine
of,
would do that.
they start school at like 7:30 in the morning. They have to be at school. So the kids are out of bed at 6 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And I
Oh no,
told
we
them
would
that.
never
They were
make
like,
that.
that'd kill me. I
Well,
couldn't do
yeah, there's
that.
so many mornings that I think like even if I wanted them to go to school, I don't think I'd get them there because we're
Yeah.
not ready. Like they don't get up late. They do get up quite early. Like they naturally go to bed around 7 and they naturally get up around between 6 and 7. And which is good because it gives me that time in the evening. But they like it doesn't matter what time they go to bed. Like I could let them go to bed well, not let them, like, they could go to bed at 9, 10, 11. They still wake up at 7. It makes absolutely no difference
Oh,
to them.
really? Oh,
They'll
gosh.
get
No.
up so early. I've got friends whose children sleep late, and I'm always like, I'm so jealous of you. I wish my children would do this, but they're not interested. Crack of dawn.
Yeah. Oh God, no, I couldn't do that. I mean, I'm an early bird, but I like my morning. That's my time, you know.
Yeah, no, I
Don't
would
get that,
really
I get a
like
bit
that, but
cranky. So
I'd probably get more done if it was morning, to be fair, because I'm not as tired as the evening, but it is what it is just now. Maybe when they get older, they'll start to sleep in longer.
yeah, or change all these things of seasons. Or he said, being a pessimist, you might have one that goes to bed early, one that goes to bed late.
Oh no, don't say that. Don't say that.
But no, I mean, but when they get older anyway, they amuse themselves a bit more, don't they, on their own?
Oh yeah, they're getting like at the moment I see them playing with each other so much more. Like they'll go off and do their own games. They don't need me as much, and that's quite nice to see them entertaining each other and looking after each other. And they wouldn't get that as well if they were at school because like the
Yeah,
eldest wouldn't be here. She wouldn't be here every day, Monday to Friday, and so they wouldn't have the same relationship they have now if they were going to school.
yeah. No, it's really lovely when you see that flourish. Well, thanks ever so much, Fiona, for coming and chatting today. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah,
So
you too.
we'll drop the links for your coaching business below. So if you're suffering with a bit of overwhelm and you're homeschooling and you want to get a bit more organised, then definitely Fiona's your woman. Have a chat with Fiona, and we'll put the links below. Um,
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Yeah, thank you.
that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for talking to me today.
No worries. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.